Everyone tells you cats are selfish, cold, indifferent, that they'd replace you with a warmer lap and a better brand of kibble if they could. But here's what those people don't know. There's a 500-year-old painting hanging in a private English collection. It shows a man dying in a prison cell, and right there, pressed against the dungeon bars, is a cat, delivering a pigeon, keeping him alive. That's not a fairy tale. That's documented family history. And that's just the beginning, because today on Pause Decoded, we're going deep into the true stories of cats that changed lives, saved lives, and proved that everything you've been told about cat loyalty is dead wrong. Let's go back to 15th century England, Wars of the Roses. Political backstabbing so intense it would make Game of Thrones blush. Sir Henry Wyatt was a nobleman who backed the wrong king at the wrong time, Henry Tudor, before Tudor had actually won the throne. The reigning king, Richard III, didn't take that well. Wyatt was thrown into a cold, narrow stone tower. No bed, barely any clothes, almost nothing to eat. The Wyatt family papers, written up from accounts in the early 1700s, record what happened next. A cat found him. She slipped through the prison grating, curled up against him for warmth, and then, as if she understood exactly what this man needed, she started bringing him pigeons. Day after day. He'd convinced the jailer to cook them. That cat was, quite literally, the only reason Henry Wyatt did not starve to death. When he was finally freed and Henry Tudor became King Henry VII, Wyatt went on to become one of the most powerful men in England, a privy councillor, master of the king's jewels, and keeper of Allington Castle. And for the rest of his life, he was famous for one peculiar thing: he was always pictured with a cat beside him. The Wyatt family papers noted that after his release, he would, and I'm paraphrasing here because this is too good, make much of cats as other men will of their spaniels or hounds. This man survived one of the most brutal political eras in English history, and he credited a cat with keeping him alive long enough to see it through. Now you tell me cats don't form attachments. And actually, science now backs up everything those historical stories have been trying to tell us. In 2019, researchers at Oregon State University's Human-Animal Interaction Lab published a landmark study in the journal Current Biology. They put cats and their owners through something called the Secure Base Test, the exact same psychological method used to study how babies bond with their parents. The results were jaw-dropping. 65% of cats showed secure attachment to their owners, the same percentage as human infants, the same as dogs. Lead researcher Dr. Kristen Vitale said it plainly: the majority of cats use their owner as a source of security. They depend on you, they trust you, and that attachment, once formed, tends to stay stable, even into adulthood. Now I want to tell you something that happened to me. It's smaller than any of these stories, but it's mine, so I know it's true. A few years ago, I was going through one of the worst periods of my life. I won't go into the details, but there were nights where I genuinely didn't know how I was going to get through it. I had a cat at the time, a tabby named Biscuit, not particularly affectionate, not really a lap cat, did his own thing. But on those bad nights, Biscuit would find me. Without fail. He'd climb onto the bed, press himself against my back, and just stay there. Not purring dramatically, not making a fuss, just there. I hadn't told him anything was wrong. He just knew. Researchers call this emotional attunement, the ability to detect subtle shifts in your human's breathing, heart rate, and cortisol levels. Cats notice. They don't understand why you're sad, but they know that something is off, and they show up anyway. That's not indifference. That's a very quiet, very feline version of loyalty. So the next time someone tells you their cat is just using them for food, send them this video. That's it for today on Pause Decoded. If this hit you differently, and I think it will, Share it with someone who still thinks cats are cold. Let's fix that. Drop in the comments, what's the most loyal thing your cat has ever done for you? I read every single one. Subscribe, please.